My review of Diablo Immortal is going to be very different from other people's because I'm not going to blindly shit on the game, which I guess is the cool thing to do right now. It's fun to go online and everything is the worst thing we have ever seen. It is the most unsuccessful thing we have ever seen. Am I going to defend Diablo Immortal? No. There are a lot of things in the game that I do like, but there are also some things that I don't like. And let's get the elephant out of the room first and foremost. Yes, this is the game in which Wyatt Chang got up on stage many years ago, BlizzCon, and said, "Don't you all have cell phones?" and created a huge campaign on why this game shouldn't even exist. Many of us had speculated that we would instead of getting this game, maybe we were going to get the beginnings of a Diablo 4. Diablo 3 came out many, many, many moons ago, and it had a pretty rough launch. I think a lot of people left early on. People were not happy with the auction house, but I will say in time, I thought Diablo 3 turned out to be a really fun experience. It was very different. It was the first time we had a proper Diablo game on a console, so I thought that Blizzard was going in the right direction. But knowing the Activision part of Activision Blizzard, and understanding that this game would be laden and just over bombarded with microtransactions, because that's what Activision does, I knew going into this game we were going to be in for a rough time, especially since it was a mobile port, in which it is a very different landscape that we see from a proper console where you pay for a game and you mostly get that experience. Especially being a mobile free-to-play game, now you have really opened the floodgates. And unfortunately, that's a lot of what we have seen so far. And that's where the press has really kind of doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on their general hate for this game by the sheer amount of microtransactions that are available. And the sheer amount of money you can spend to upgrade your character and buy the special materials to upgrade and to spend more money on cosmetics and on emotes and on all things that really don't matter. There is a large pay-to-win section of this game as well, in which it will allow you to accelerate your time in grinding and instead buy chances or buy upgraded loot tables to get better gear as well. And a lot of people don't like that, but that is the mobile landscape. That is exactly what mobile games are. They are very heavily generated on income. And this is not unlike any other mobile game that I have ever played. Clash of Clans, Mafia Wars, any of the little farming games, they all do this. It's going to take time to craft and build something. Or if you want that dopamine hit right now, it's 99 cents, it's $1.99, it's some small amount of money to get you something better now. Don't you want that? And unfortunately, this game is no different. So if you are just 100% absolutely disgusted with microtransactions, well, there's a very limited amount of games you can currently play that don't offer those, because pretty much all of them do now. But if you're absolutely against that, don't play this game. But if you want to actually be a reasonable human being and not be a gullible fool and spend every penny you have on everything, the early portion of this game, the main campaign of what you will experience in Diablo Immortal, is actually a lot of fun. It really is. And yes, you will be bombarded with constant opportunities to upgrade your character via spending money, and almost every single menu seems to have a buy it now tab somewhere associated with it or nearby it. And that is really disgusting and honestly takes away from some of the fun of this game. But if you can look past all of that, the core gameplay experience here, playing Diablo in a mobile setting, here I'm playing on PC, but playing mobily on your phone, on your iPad, whatever, is a very true to form Diablo experience, and it's one that I really do enjoy. It's the same reason why I loved Elder Scrolls Blades so much when it came out. Yes, it was the exact same thing. It had a lot of microtransactions. There was a lot of time in order to do things. You had to wait. You had daily login rewards that would go away if you did not log in daily. and you had to constantly play, and they wanted you to constantly pay to progress. But I sank probably 40 hours into that game, never spent a penny, and had a blast doing it. And I'm here to tell you that after spending the weekend essentially stuck on my couch, thanks to my lovely thyroid basically shitting the bed on me and giving me insane amounts of blood pressure and headaches and general fatigue, I didn't really have a lot of energy to do anything else except to sit on my fat ass and use my iPad and play this game. And I had a really fun time doing it. I haven't yet beat the main campaign. I think I'm pretty darn close based on the amount of time that I have played, but I enjoy it. And it is just more Diablo. You're going to select from one of, I believe, 6 characters that are all, over the top Nephilim super soldiers, right? We have the return of Deckard Cain, which is awesome because they did a really stupid thing in killing him off in Diablo 3. So it's nice to hear Deckard Cain come back into the mix. You're going to be able to pick through your characters and find different pieces of gear and upgrade, or I wouldn't say upgrade skills, unlock different skills to allow you to progress, and you will feel like a general badass. That is kind of what Diablo games are meant to do, at least early on. And I keep going back to that caveat because late game is different. That is where you're going to see the incessant amount of microtransactions. Late game is where you're going to see a lot of people being frustrated, saying, how dare they? That's why I'm so frustrated with my fellow gaming brethren. I know a lot of you haven't gotten a late game. You're just piling on because it's the cool thing to do. You want those internet points to shit on a game that you haven't really tried. The early part of this game is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. The progression is phenomenal. You're going to get some really cool story. You're going to get a lot of voiceovers. You're going to get a lot of really awesome sound effects. Graphics that are dated, obviously. It's a cell phone port, guys. I mean, I don't know what we really expect here. But it is that true to form Diablo experience where you're going to just literally blow your way through and destroy enemies using various skills. The game really opens up past this opening tutorial area where you're in a giant overworld with other characters who are running around. This will allow you to very quickly team up with people to take on more challenging dungeons. It has a light MMO feel to it, something we haven't really seen with Diablo games before. Typically you make a private instance or you join a public game where there's like 3 other people and you're all running around together because nobody wants to miss out on anything, typically those really good loot drops. But what you do have in a game like this is, since it's open world, you could see other people on the map, you could see elites on the map, you could see other places of interest to check out on the map. It generally congregates people together, and you will start teaming up with people essentially on the fly to take out some of the tougher baddies. And I think that's a really cool concept, and I think it's one that people have genuinely been overlooking because it's so easy to hate on the late game microtransaction system. But when you're in the town and you're walking around and you see other barbarians and you go up to a dungeon and it says, hey, would you like to queue by yourself or with a party, and you're able to find other people, it's cool. I like that concept, and that's why, to me, I feel like this game in particular is a great entry point into what I hope Diablo 4 will be. I hope that Blizzard takes the concepts they learned from this game, some of the cool skills that have been added, like the Barbarian Chains is a really fun one. I'd like to see more of that just because it's cool as hell. I like some of the sorcery spells. I like how you have this quick cast system, which very simple to use. It does cater obviously to a touchpad environment, which does ruin some of the skill shots that you would have, say like in Diablo 2, casting a meteor at range or casting a Hydra around a corner or something like that. You're not going to get that here. But I like the bones of this game. I like the concepts that went into kind of putting your character to the test with some new skills, the way it's this open world concept, how quickly you could jump into the game, how quickly you could level up and just get out there and go. You don't have to be bombarded with pages and pages of menus and stats and skills and synergies. All that goes out the window. This is just a rough, no kidding, hey, I have my cell phone, I have 5 minutes to play Diablo, let me jump in and just smash like 50 enemies as fast as possible, and oh, I gotta go. That's what this gameplay is, and I hope to see more of this progress into whatever Diablo 4 ultimately turns into. I think there's some good concepts here. The sound design is good as well. I feel like a lot of the sound design was actually borrowed right out of Diablo 3. It is very wet sounding. It is very metallic sounding. It is very violent sounding. And it doesn't do it service to play it on your phone. You really need to have a computer with a nice pair of headphones. Maybe it would work with headphones on your phone. Actually, I don't know. I didn't try it. My wife didn't mind me slamming away on my iPad. But I think you're going to have fun just listening to some of the sound effects. And when you're playing with a group of people in some of the dungeons you'll experience later on, and you're hearing lots of violence and explosions and enemies dying and sound effects and stuff going off, it's very immersive. And it works well. It does offer a 30 frame per second and a 60 frame per second mode. Be warned, the 60 frame per second mode is going to turn your phone into an oven, and it's most likely going to drain your battery very, very rapidly. But it looks incredibly smooth, and it does seem to hold a nice, solid 60 frame per second experience. I'm playing on PC. It's uncapped. I don't really think this thing could absolutely max out my computer because it doesn't have a lot of the really good lighting or anything like that because it's a mobile game. But it looks well enough. My biggest criticism here, I think, with the graphics is I wish the field of view was just slightly further. I feel like my character is too zoomed in. I can't see much of the world. But based on the fact that the map is very small and corridor-like, even though it is open world, I totally understand that, and I can truly explain and understand why they kept everything tight, and that's because there's not much to see if you zoomed out. And I also suspect as well, the way that this game works, there's probably not a lot being rendered outside of your immediate field of view. I doubt some of the older cell phones can handle this, so it seems to me this would make the most sense as to why the field of view is kind of tightened in a little bit. So keep that in mind as well. The first few hours of the game, you're going to constantly be getting new pieces of gear. Very, very easy to upgrade. I'm not even looking at them. If the green arrow is there, that means they're better. I'm taking them. I'm not worried about synergies. I'm not worried about skills. I'm just leveling up. Speaking of skills, the skills are fun. I've played a lot with the Barbarian and a lot with the Wizard. I love both of them. Those are kind of my go-to classes when I'm playing Diablo anyway. I do want to re-roll a fresh Paladin. I might do that on stream later in the week because I think it'd be fun to see what the Paladin's all about. I haven't tried them yet. Unfortunately, you can't really deep dive the skills like you did in Diablo 3 with all those really cool modifiers. Here, your skills just level up as you use them, as your character levels up. So it doesn't really matter too much in terms of like, oh, I want to build that focuses on one thing or another. Unfortunately, a lot of the characters will ultimately kind of morph into the same end game because there's not really a lot of flexibility there on how you perk your skills. I remember playing as a Crusader, for example, in Diablo 3, where I did a really cool caster build, which was very unique, where I was summoning lots of spectral assistants to help me defeat enemies. You're not going to get that kind of flexibility here. All of the characters are going to be very, very similar. What is going to be the big distinction, of course, is your gear with those perks and what kind of gems and that sort of thing you put into them, which leads me to that really ugly and nasty, somewhat predatory microtransaction system at the end game, because that's what's really going to make your character go to the next level. You're going to level out your character without a problem. I mean, you saw me a few minutes ago. I was going through my inventory getting attacked and I still didn't die. I was like, oh crap, I forgot this was a open world persistent game where I was actually supposed to be leveling up. Or you know, I mean, not leveling up. I'm supposed to level up in town, I guess I should say. I forgot that the game didn't pause when I opened the menu. I almost died, but I didn't. You will die occasionally, and I did a few times too, but not a lot. You are meant to feel like a badass early on. That is how these games work. It's the power fantasy of you being the hero, saving the town, helping everybody, rescuing the princess, saving the village, whatever. Leveling up quickly, giving you access to new menus, new systems, new interfaces, all the while trying to get you into that dopamine hit. And then as the game starts to reach the end of the game, those cool upgrades and everything are going to start to slow down exponentially. And that's where the microtransaction system and the predatory system really starts to take over, because at this point, you're so used to getting the shiny new thing, you're not going to be getting that anymore. The only way to get that's by buying it. And that's what's frustrating. There's a lot of systems in here and a lot of ways to spend money, some of which aren't even guaranteed things. It's not like you're buying a legendary hammer called X, or you're buying this piece of gear that does something. You're buying chances. You're buying a upgraded loot table inside of a dungeon that you complete. You are buying things along those lines. And they have those rules. You've seen these kind of machines before where, you know, if your luck is down, it is programmed that after like 30 or 40 rolls or whatever the number is, you will ultimately get that item. So you can eventually just brute force your way to get good luck, to get a good piece of gear, to get some sort of crafting material, some sort of special gem, something along those lines. You can do that in this game. And that's where I think it is predatory, and I don't like that. If you want to give people the ability to spend money to level up their character faster, hey, they did it in Assassin's Creed Origins. I hated it for that. Was it Origins? Was it either Origins? I think it was Odyssey. I think it was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Yeah, it was Odyssey, and I hated that. I hated that system. It was, oh, well, you know what? It's okay. We're just going to allow you to basically buy this double XP. And my true love, Brent Cassina, loved the game. He said it was his favorite game ever, and I hated it because I felt it was very grindy. But if you want to have that option exist, if you want to have people to be able to say, hey, yeah, I don't have time to play this. I want to press a button, and here's $5. Let me level up faster. I don't care. That doesn't take away from my experience. Now, if the game is tuned in such a way that that is required, like what happened in Assassin's Creed, well, that I don't like. This game, I didn't feel that way early on. Now, late game, yes, you will have to spend money to upgrade. You will hit a wall that you will just really not be able to progress. You'll do the same dungeons over and over and over and find limited success. Sound familiar? Well, if it does, you probably played Diablo 3 at launch, like my friend Sid and I, where we could not get into Act 2 of Hell because the enemies were one-shotting us. So we kept grinding the Butcher over and over and over, trying so hard to get some sort of upgrade or some sort of piece of tech that allowed us to progress further on. And it wasn't until a month or two in, by that time a lot of people had already abandoned Diablo 3, did they finally go back and make some really good balance changes that allowed the game to play much better later on. I suspect you'll see some of that here. Maybe not as much because it's a mobile game. It's a different environment. Things are balanced slightly differently. People care about things differently in the mobile landscape than they do on the more traditional gaming front. But if you can put all that aside, I know that's a big ask. It's fun. It really is fun. And if you're a fan of Diablo, you can't sit here and tell me that it doesn't feel good to pull an enemy into you with chains and then whirlwind them while your friend is casting some spell or summoning skeletons or using a giant scythe or something behind you to help lay waste to enemies. It is fun and it works. It's just that end game. So here's my recommendation to you. Here's what I suggest. Download this game because it's free and you're stupid not to, and it's stupid not to at least try it, right? It's free. It costs you nothing. Download the game, but commit to not spending a single penny on it and see how far you get before it's not fun. And tell me that this game doesn't do a good job of being fun well past other cell phone games that are free to play as well. Go play Clash of Clans. Go play Mafia Wars. Go play Farmville. Tell me when those games, after about the hour or so mark, when you have to start throwing money into the system to kind of keep that fun going. That's not the case here. This game will keep you entertained significantly longer without costing money. And that's why I recommend this. That's why I think this game is worth playing. It's very well polished. It's great for a mobile game. It does have its problems. I can't defend it. I can't defend the people who want to blow thousands of dollars and upgrade pieces of gear. I think that's really stupid. But I think that's really stupid of people who are whales on a lot of these games anyway. Spending money on games that aren't out yet. Spending money on stupid things. I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. But to each their own. But I can't in good conscience just dump on this game like all the other YouTubers have telling you guys it's the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing that's ever happened to mobile gaming, and review bomb this game because it's just not that bad. There is a lot of fun to be had here if you're willing to go look for it and you're willing to accept that once you finish kind of the main story, unless you want to start spending more money, it's time to move on. That's the important thing here. And it's also important to understand that the UI is frustrating because they're going to keep throwing those "buy me now" at you. And just be cognizant of that and don't click on them and enjoy the game for what it is. I spent 10 hours on my couch this weekend playing it. I had a blast with it. I had no issues. I never once had to spend anything, and I had a good time with it. Maybe you will too. Maybe you won't. That's your call. But I wanted to be honest and I wanted to be fair to this game because I love Diablo and this game is not that bad. That's going to wrap up today's very controversial review. If you made it this far, congratulations. I'm sure most of you have already left nasty comments below, and that's fine too, to each their own. But be fair and be honest with yourself because, like I said, this isn't the worst thing out there. That's all for today. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.